This is your math gal, Julie Harland. Please visit my website at yourmathgal.com, where all of my videos are organized by topic. This is our fifth example, solving a basic equation that contains fractions. All right, so why don't you try it on your own first? Okay, so let's see. We've got negative 10/3 times x equals negative 20. So the most common way to do this is multiply both sides by the reciprocal of the coefficient of x. Right? So I'm going to put a parentheses around here. Remember, that makes it easier to realize that's just negative 10/3 times x. So that's the coefficient of x. And so we want to multiply by the reciprocal so that the negative signs cancel, the 3's cancel, the 10's cancel. If you only do it by 3/10, you won't be solving for x yet. You'll still have a negative sign in there. So be careful that you really multiply both sides by the same thing, which is negative 3/10, not positive 3/10. And you could put this in parentheses as well on the right-hand side. So what do we have here? On the left, everything cancels except the x. So, and I've got two negatives times each other is a positive, so I'll have x equals. Now over here, I have a negative times a negative. So that'll give me a positive number. And let's see, we can cancel the 10 into the 20 as well. And that goes 2 times. So our answer is 6. Okay, so that's the first way to do it. Other options. When you have a negative sign for the coefficient of x, if you want to make it a positive, you could just multiply both sides by negative 1. You don't even have to show that step, but you can now write it down in the next step. If you multiply both sides by negative 1, it changes the signs on both sides of the equation. So I'm just going to write that over here on the left. What I did was multiply both sides by negative 1. Okay, so if you want, you could have put a negative 1 times on both sides. Now I have it without fractions, and that helps some people not having that minus sign, because then you could just multiply both sides by 3/10, not really worrying about the negative numbers. In the end, you get exactly the same thing. You're going to get x equals 6 again after canceling out everything. Now the other way to do this, let's see, is again starting with the same equation. You can get rid of the denominator first by multiplying both sides by the least common denominator. And since there's only one denominator and it's 3, 3 is the least common denominator. So I could multiply both sides of the equation by a positive 3. And that way I end up with an equation that doesn't have any fractions at all. Negative 10x on the left and equals negative 60 on the right. So when I divide now by a negative 10, I get the same answer again of x equals 6. So you can see there's at least 3 ways that somebody might go about doing this. Be careful again that when you have a negative number in front of the variable, you either have to divide by that number or multiply by the reciprocal. The sign is going to be the same in order to cancel out the signs. All right, now let's check our answer. All right, so we're going to check to see if x equals 6 is the correct solution. Probably is, since we just did it 3 ways. We kept getting x equals 6, but let's check. So we plug in 6 in for the variable. So I'm going to plug in 6, and I'm going to write that as 6 over 1, but you don't have to do that. And then let's reduce over here. 3 goes into 6 twice, and then we can do our multiplication. Have a negative times a positive, so negative 10 times 2 is negative 20. All right, right-hand side is already simplified. We've got negative 20. So x equals 6 is indeed the solution. And if you're going to write that using set notation in solution set braces, you would see it this way. This is your math gal, Julie Harland. Please visit my website at yourmathgal.com, where all of my videos are organized by topic.